Hi everyone, welcome back to Cozy Corner episode 3, I believe. Today we're going to be talking about belonging in adult friendships. This is Abby speaking, by the way. I just asked folks to do a visual description and then I forgot to do one. Hi, this is Abby. I am an East Asian femme with long, dark, wavy hair, and I'm wearing a dark top and I'm sitting in front of a green room with a bunch of decor behind me. It's messy. So, back to the topic of belonging and adult friendships. We had a little bit of a hot take just as we were preparing for this episode. I don't know if we want to start there or if there's anybody else who wants to jump in. What do we think about belonging and adult friendship?
I feel like jumping in right with my hot take might be a bit much, but Parveen, I am a South Asian woman. I'm wearing a turquoise teal sweater. I have long black hair. What else? I'm in front of a dark green background with some floating bookshelves with books and photos and plants, and a white couch with some brown-ish cushions. I think that's everything. I, yeah. I was just saying before we started recording that I feel jaded about adult friendships at this stage of my life with different circumstances that have come up. I feel like this is a hard, you put me on the spot, Abby.
We can shift it.
No, it's fine. I guess I'll go. Yeah, I feel like it's really hard as adults to make friends. I feel like when you're younger and you're like in school or you're, yeah, like elementary school, it's like easy to just be playing with somebody on the playground. And you're like, that's my friend now. Or in high school or university or whatever, like like the proximity helps to make friends because you're just around people constantly. You can connect with people. And as adults, there's a lot more legwork that goes into making friends almost. And yeah, I feel like also for me, I like the jadedness comes from like having falling outs with people when like values shift or priorities shift or different things come up and you have a falling out with people and then starting over feels hard because it's so much less accessible almost to make friends, if that makes sense, especially where I'm at right now. And I think where a lot of people are at, when you're like working remotely and you're like not just able to see people and be near people and make those connections. So, like, building out from like virtual meetings or seeing people and turning that into like real life plans or connections outside of work feels very daunting sometimes.
I definitely hear you, Purvi, when you say that it feels there's a lot more legwork. It's just so much more work to go into making adult friendships. And I think a lot of my clients echo that too. A lot of them also experience a lot of loneliness and isolation, and then that's the context they're in. And always this question is, and myself included, is where do we go to make friends? I remember back in, oh my God, dates me. Back in the day in McDonald play paces, you just go, "Hi, my name's Julianne. I want to be friends. Cool, let's play tag for intensely for 2 hours." And you're like really good friends. And then you might figure out that, oh hey, we go to school nearby. Oh, let's meet on this playground at this like time, and then we'll play tag some more. And then it became the thing. And then I just go, damn, where did she go? Where did that boldness go? And
Mm.
something I noticed too in my clients too, it's like, how do you make friends? Do you just walk up to someone like, "Hi, I like your bag. It's crocheted really well. Do you want to be friends?" People get skeeved out. Yeah, I and so my own question is, okay, where do you go to make friends? Unless you have certain hobbies that are very social. I play a lot of D. And so there's a lot of a lot of connection points and common points for you to start conversations or segue into conversations from D, just in how you play your character, the choices you make. And then that's where I can think of making friends. But if you're not into D&D, then where do you go? What do you do? I think that's a question that me and my clients still wonder and struggle to think about. I'm Juliana. I'm an East Asian woman. Currently, I have a blue shirt on and a blanket of flowers and stars and deer that you can't really see. And it's dark green and various colors draped over my shoulders because I'm very cold. Light blue shirt as well, long, straight black hair. My background is blurred, but there's like a gray blob to my right that is a couch, a white filter, and a white blob to my left that's blurred, but it's actually a window. It's blurred because it's very messy. There's no need to see that. So hello and welcome.
I love that. We should all do blobs in our
Yeah.
image description.
Yeah. Mm. I have heard of this thing where they say it's harder to make friends now because we've lost something called a third space. I haven't
Mm.
read too much what third space is, but it sounds, my understanding is we've lost a place where we can just go to congregate for leisure and just like, yeah, for like social leisure. Again, growing up, dating myself, went to the mall and we would take like sticker photos or go to the local arcade and play games and then talk about how I can't aim worth anything. I still can't aim worth anything and couldn't revive my friend in time. And so it's like we lost places that we can go to just that's not for work, not for school. It's just we're just there to have fun. And we've kind of lost those spaces. So I wonder if that probably exacerbates friendship making.
Yeah, I think also something else, like from what you were mentioning earlier, Juliana, is like, where did that boldness go? I feel like there's a lot more, like, we tend to be more fearless almost when we're younger. And again, I keep coming back to feeling jaded, but I feel like there's a lot more like fear of rejection, or like we tend to focus more on like how we're perceived as we get older. And so when you're younger, you're just like putting yourself out there. Someone's playing with something that you want to play with, so you like go and ask them to share and make these very, what's the word, organic connections. And it feels like there's not any pressure because you're just a kid and you want to play. Like seeing my little nephew play with like his cousins, like they just want to see what the other kid is playing with and they just put themselves out there. There's no one being like, hey, go play with these other kids. They're just naturally doing that. But I feel like you start to lose that when you get more caught up in how you're being perceived and you're like, oh, do I put myself out there? How do I, like, this person that I'm talking to at work seems cool and like we would get along, but how do I start texting this person about not work related stuff or ask them to go for a coffee? Is that weird? Yeah, it's this shift, and I don't know when that just happens. It felt like for me at least it just suddenly happened, and then I was like, how do I make friends? Like, how do people, how did I, and I was like thinking back to like, how did I make the friends that I have been friends with for so long? I don't even remember how that happened. So like, how do you make that jump? It feels very daunting. Yeah, something else for me I know comes up for myself but also for clients is like when you have long-term friendships that maybe no longer feel aligned because it's so scary to put yourself out there. It's almost like you're holding on to these connections that don't feel aligned and fulfilling anymore because it feels scarier to be like, I don't think that we click anymore. And maybe I don't want to be putting energy to this relationship that doesn't feel good for me anymore, because then what am I going to do? How do I find those connections again? Where do I even get started? So I feel like that's another part of adult friendships that's hard, is like accepting that just because you've been friends with somebody for a really long time like that length of time doesn't necessarily translate to the quality of the relationship. And also, quality of relationships is more important than quantity. If I can't cut off this person or lose this connection because then I don't have enough friends, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I really love what you were saying there, and I feel like we're picking up pieces of what are important in a friendship and to feel belonging. And I will pause and do a visual description right now. Hi, it's Jess here speaking. I am a cis white woman and on a rather boring background of white walls, but there is a closet to my left. And I have brown curly hair and a gray top with a quarter, I guess it's a quarter zip and a collar. Yeah, just really thinking, I think a lot about not only the piece of what changes from being a kid to an adult in terms of once feeling that sense of freedom to just interact with people and then feeling judgment or such consciousness of whether someone's going to accept us. And then also thinking a lot about how those spaces that Juliana was mentioning around like a third space or where that center of belonging is happening is so crucial to maintaining long-term friendships. And I think it can really point to the values that those spaces hold. I think a lot about sport and how I move towards those spaces to make friends because of the values that can be within the humans that I'm interacting with there and that I might have a better chance to make friends. So I think when we are able to figure out, not saying the access point of spaces might be another whole discussion, but figure out where those spaces are that share the values we hold dear to ourselves, and we're going to have a better chance at making those connections that are going to last. I'm thinking back to school, or I guess school, really, right? We were all part of a structure where we moved in cohorts and we were going through the same things usually. And there's like that proximity, there was like a schedule to connect. I can't remember where I read this, but there's some research out there that says you have to have 200 hours of interaction with someone consistently before they move from acquaintance to a friend. And like, where in capitalistic life do we have 200 hours to dedicate to one person consistently to build that friendship? There's just no structure for that, the way that school has been a structure, like moving through the grades and or even like clubs. I'm thinking about university, like some of my favorite friendships came from universities and we met at a club where we had those shared values, as you were saying, Jess. So one part of me is thinking like, how do we find those spaces as you were asking, but also what do we need systemically as a whole to make that possible? And then internally, what are some of the things that we might need to shift to allow us to engage in those third spaces? Because some people go to a park and they strike up a conversation. People who are watching probably don't know this. I recently got a puppy and I've made so many more interactions. We're not friends, but like had so many more interactions just because you bring the dog to the dog park, they're playing, now you're awkwardly standing with each other, you might as well talk. And then, but you've built that into the community. And I don't think we have much of that outside of playing D&D or sports or having a dog. So just curious about those pieces.
On that note, I'm thinking about I'm still wondering about the systemic shifts that we might need. But I think maybe even getting that started with the internal shifts is, I think what one thing that I found to be really helpful for myself and for my clients is, I'm trying to figure out the wording, being open to trying something new and different. And it's not going to be a big, huge thing. It doesn't need to be a grand thing. It could be just be like, oh, I went with a friend and we just went to a local beauty store and we call it a sniff and snort. We're just like, let's just all these samples of perfumes. Let's just see what scents we like for kicks and giggles. And then it was a really fun time. Our noses got so desensitized. And at some point, we're like, we have to go. I'm getting a headache. You're getting a headache. We need to go. We're getting way too overstimulated. And I think we pissed off the person working the floor. But it was really great because on one hand, we figured out this kind of sense that we liked and didn't like. But we also got to know a little bit about each other. And afterwards, we went and I think we got like a dessert or something with our sweet smelling hands or citrus smelling hands for some of us. But yeah, if I don't think I would have that memory or have that connection with this friend that I'm learning to deepen friendship with if I hadn't been like, just give it a try. Some of the D&D groups that I'm part of, one particular group is made up of folks who are very much younger than me, like by at least a decade or so. And I used to be their youth leader. And so I feel very dated in that group. And yet some of our game interactions are just so wonderful and delightful and absolutely chaotic. And that's what makes it so delightful. And again, I look back and go, wow, I would not have experienced that if I got myself, if I stopped myself from giving it a try, giving it a go. And that's something that seems to repeat it in some of my clients too, as we're working through a lot of social anxiety, working through a lot of fear of rejection is okay, well, give it a try. What we've got to lose? Give it a try and then see how that feels. Okay, that didn't quite land. What can we do next time? Yes, let's give it a try next time. And it's only until like maybe the fourth or fifth try that they're like, oh, this thing happened. I didn't expect that to, but that was really cool. And we're meeting each other for coffee again. Oh, wow. Who knew that could work? So I don't know if that's maybe the internal shift is try something. So even if it's a small thing, like going out to a park one day or just going for a walk around the block, something that you don't necessarily do usually, give it a small try. See what happens.
I'll jump in late. I'm Sarda. I'll give a visual description before I jump in with my thoughts. I am wearing a black soft sweater. I have longish black wavy hair, and I'm in like a cream colored like corner of a room, and I have a painting behind my head of some like abstract leaves and shapes. Yeah, like I've just been sitting back and listening to what everyone is saying, and this word keeps popping up for me of expectations. I think that is a key thing that seems to be a big difference when I think of friendships as a child versus friendships as an adult is when you're a kid, play and friendship are just actions and spaces where that you enter as yourself, whereas as an adult, for whatever reason, expectations are a part of it. And I think in some ways that makes a lot of sense because you learn a lot about yourself. You are able to articulate your values a bit easier or clearer, maybe as an adult. And so you have an idea of what you're looking for, which is great. But I think also that can create these kind of invisible qualifiers for people where it anyways takes some time to get to know people and get to know their expectations. And then, like any relationship with another human, people have different ways of looking at things. People have different ways of talking. And so there's a lot of navigation. And I think there's an element of, oh, we're all pretty tired pretty consistently in this here day and age and in our older bodies. Yeah, I feel like it is like a very different effort and there's a lot more to hold. And I would imagine, I know in my experience, there can be tension just in general going into these things. And yeah, it's so layered. There's so many things, even as I'm speaking, I can see the like cake layers. So there's expectation, but that means that you get to know yourself better, but then you have to get to know another person, but then you need time and effort to want to navigate that, and it might not turn into a friendship, and you're tired, so why would you want to enter that space? But there's always a need there for people to belong. And yeah, I can see why jaded could also be a word that comes up for a lot of folks too. But I really like, Juliana, at least how I received what you were saying, taking a bit of the pressure off first and just approaching brings back a bit of flavor of that younger vibe of acting first without having to plan it and put meaning to it first. Like just getting out there. That's how that landed with me. And I have noticed in my friendships, there has been a return to what does hanging out look like? What does quality time look like? And it used to be we need to find a day where we both dedicate a certain amount of time and we both show up. And it's usually, oh, let's go for dinner. That's probably a common one. But then with capacities changing, but the need to connect always being there or consistently being there, it's turned into can I come over to your area and we can just walk for as much as we can walk and just stare at trees? Can I FaceTime you and we'll just be doing our own thing? The pressure has been like removed of what can this look like? Just
Yeah.
challenging. Do we have to be sitting in a place and looking a certain way? Do we have to be dressed up? Do we have to go do anything? Do we have to? It's just interesting when you start looking at it, realizing how many of the expectations don't actually matter.
Mhm. Yeah.
So those are my like layered, rambly cake layer thoughts.
I
Delicious.
love
Yeah.
it.
Just
Sometimes
building
delicious, sometimes confusing flavors.
building off of that last point, Sarda, I think, yeah, I think once you shift the expectations a bit, I think we can put so much pressure on having these like perfect relationships and perfect ways of connecting. And once we shift that, I think it opens up like so much more room for genuine connection and more consistent connection because it is hard to set aside time when you're busy, you have so much going on, and everyone has different life things going on. So making carving out a day or carving out an evening or whatever it is can be hard, but being able to just even run errands together. Like my best friend and I did that recently, and it felt so nice because she had been like not living locally for a really long time. So just having a day where we're like, I need to go get this. And she was like, I also do. We went together, and it was just like we're getting things done, but we're just in each other's presence. And that felt really connected. Or yeah, being on a video call with somebody as you're like making your dinner and they're like doing their thing and you're just like catching up, and there's not this like pressure to make it perfect or even to perform a certain way. Or like, okay, my phone is propped up in a weird place and this is just going to be the angle that you're going to get because I have to make my dinner and I can't focus my full attention on the camera, but at least we're connecting with each other. Yeah, I think once we let go of some of that pressure to check all those boxes, then we can get more of that connection that we're wanting. Another thing that was coming up for me is I know I've mentioned it earlier, but like a lot of times with clients too, I'm noticing this like desire to make those connections with people, but that fear of rejection comes up so much. And a thing that I always say to clients and that I try to take on myself so I'm not so jaded about relationships is if you don't put yourself out there, like you're essentially letting that rejection, fear of rejection win. Because if you don't even try, then it's okay, nothing good is going to come from this. But if you put yourself out there, maybe that person doesn't have time or isn't interested in becoming friends. Yeah, that sucks, but at least I tried, and there's a chance that they will want to connect. But you won't know until you actually try it. And it's really scary and daunting the first time you do that, especially when there's been like a falling out or it's been a long time or something is coming up where you're like, I feel so apprehensive about putting myself out there. It's not easy to do, but once you do it, it starts to feel easier the next time and the next time and with a different person. And yeah, then next thing you know, you're like, now I'm actually connected with the person. Now it doesn't feel so scary when I'm just like checking in. And that wouldn't have happened if I didn't put myself out there the first time.
Reminds me of a quote I saw on Instagram. Congratulations on your failures. Most people don't even try. You have to go with failures being something to celebrate rather than something that we're afraid of, because I think that stops people so much. And with your example of errands, like that was the first thing that popped up in my mind too. I used to just hang out with friends. We would go grocery shopping together because
So
can't
fun.
get organized, right? Like as a neurodivergent person, like trying to get your things together in order, like that body doubling was so helpful, but then also so connective at the same time. And it makes me wonder what would be different if we tried to live our lives together rather than carve out a space in our life for someone else. What is that reframe? What might that support in building more connection or different types of connection in a more easeful way? Maybe we should all just go to Costco together, have a Costco
Love
train.
that.
I would
Like
honestly
there's
really
Yes.
like
so much stuff in the
That sounds
Costco run
amazing.
anyway. We should probably just split it, but my mind is going off a different train now. I'm thinking Excel
Mm.
spreadsheets and
But there's
Can we do
something.
that? Can we go to Costco? Because I would love to go to Costco.
I love
we
it. Next
can, we
next
can.
in person.
Yeah, yeah. Our next in-person team meeting, we'll meet at Costco. We eat all the samples.
Oh, I love that.
Ah,
There's
oh
an
my
even
gosh.
crazier idea because a Costco membership allows you access to Costco all over the world. I know a friend who works in a yeah. So as you can see, where I'm talking, I have a friend who works in Costco. And she told me this, and the crazy idea: traveling friends to like Japan and going to their
Going to Costco.
Oh my gosh.
And with that aside, Costco's in Japan look really cool. I don't have a Costco membership. I am not sponsored by
Mhm.
Costco membership, but from pictures of my friend who has been, they look pretty cool.
Mhm.
Yeah. Maybe we should be
Mhm.
Costco. If you're listening to this by any chance,
Please?
Yes.
please sponsor us with a membership. We'll start a new Costco club
Oh, I love
where we all
this.
just come and hang out on
Costco.
your sofas in the floor aisle.
That's where we'll do our podcast. And eat
Yes.
snacks and
Bless.
building relationships with Costco.
Yes.
Yeah. Going
Mm.
back to what we were talking about, though, Abby, something you said was interesting to me, which was like the I'm not going to say it the way you said it, but basically, like, it popped up for me as you were speaking that I think when we think about like expectations, and even when you were bringing up earlier the 200 hours, that's such a, everyone talks about measurable goals, but sometimes with certain things, I think there can be problems with that because if human connection is based on numbers now, that makes it pass fail when you standardize or measure something. And yeah, I guess the thought I had was what if we moved away from the pressure and expectation and measurement of it more towards connecting to first what is your actual priority, right? Like when you think of friendship, what is it about friendship that's actually important, right? Because that in itself, I think, strips away some of the fluff around it and performance around it because you get to the actual core of what is this even about for someone. And that also makes it clearer to then connect and ask someone for what it is you need, because then you're actually leading with what you need as opposed to let's go do this thing at this time. Do you have time to do this? It's not about the thing that you're doing or the place that you're going. It's I'm just feeling alone with my thoughts and I'd like to eat a meal and watch something nice together. Actually, that kind of sounds the same. How do I how do you do that in practice? Clearly, it would take a bit of work, is what I'm realizing. I think
Yeah.
it could just be like, I just want to coexist with someone. That's what you said. You were saying, how can
Mm.
we just be around people or live our lives
Live
with people?
together.
Yeah, live together. Yeah, and I think taking myself as an example, when I've asked myself, what is it that I actually need in this connection with these people that I care about. I want to be able to coexist and feel some ease coexisting. And obviously, we're having some different conversations about like meeting people versus maintaining friendships we already have. And I'm speaking a bit more maybe to maintaining and connecting with people that you already feel comfortable with. But yeah, I guess just maybe ask yourself, like, what is my priority here? What is important about friendships? And let that honesty lead what you actually ask and say to your friends when trying to connect.
Yeah, and I think both are important and both go together. Like the idea of how do you make new friendships, but also how do you like maintain friendships as adults when we have so much going on, right? Like in a capitalist society, we have to work to make money and make ends meet. And that takes up so much of our time. And then you also have chores and things that like errands to run, things to do. It's so much of your time is just surviving and like getting by. So, how do you carve out time to make those new connections and then maintain those relationships? Or how do you carve out time to continue to foster relationships that already exist? And yeah, I think part of it is also like being okay with asking for help or just asking for support, right? Even if it's just, look, I want to hang out with you, but I have like way too much going on. So you can come over and watch me do my chores, or maybe you can help me with that. And depending on the person, I know for me, when I was like having a lot of issues with like my eczema and everything, and I had so much cleaning stuff to do and everything was irritating my skin, like I reached out to one of my friends and asked her to help, and she was like so excited because she was like, I love cleaning, like I'm so down to come over and help you clean. And with my sister, like she needed help with organizing clothes and decluttering, and I love doing that. So I was like, I'm happy to help with doing that because I get joy out of arranging things and organizing it. So I'm like happy to take that on with you. So yeah, like being willing to ask for that help and support. And also, again, letting go of that perfection. I feel like I definitely am the type of person who's like, I have to clean everything and my space needs to be like, really, I have to be on top of everything. No one can see things out of order. So, like, probably with a new friend, I wouldn't be like, help me clean, because I feel like that's too much too soon. But with lifelong best friend, I'm like, okay, maybe I do need to reach out and be okay with her helping me when things are scattered because it's too much for me to take on myself.
I know we're not lifelong best friends, but would you like to come over and clean my house, please?
I would love to help organize stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll take Stella
like
for
the
a
mess.
walk.
Yeah, the mess of my place. Oh my goodness. I would love to have that superpower.
Yeah, I'd be down.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I think that there's just many thoughts, and I almost can see this being a topic to continue, not only how to start friendships and maintain them, but also the context of friendships right now.
Yeah.
There's just a lot that I feel we can get into.
On that note, and that like nice little Netflix cliffhanger, let's wrap it up here. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.